Hi, my name is Lisa. Welcome to King Worldwide. This is my mom, Sally.
Hello, everybody.
And we're today going to be talking about marriage and moms. Our ministry is one about helping people know how to live victoriously through Jesus Christ. And since I am not married yet or a mom, I have been blessed with the most amazing mom because of her servitude to God, my dad, and us kids. And so we're just going to have a little question and answer. Hello, Hazel. And if anyone has questions, feel free to ask, because my mom would prefer the question answer forum. Thank you, Denise. My mom would prefer that. So if you have any questions while we're going through, just let us know. We're going to start off with being married and what it takes. They've been married for over 51 years, and y'all see my dad on Mondays. And sometimes things weren't always easy, but I never knew it. So I want to ask my mom if she remembers, she doesn't have to say the specifics, but if she remembers any hard times, and then how she learned to zip her lip is what she did. And then if she made a mistake and was really, thank you, if she was really out of line, maybe what she did to get back in line. So do you remember any time that y'all had, I remember when you started the business, it was hard for you.
Yes.
Any times that you feel like were hard in marriage, and how did you handle it?
Well, first of all, I have a wonderful husband. Y'all see him on Monday with Lisa, and the Lord blessed me with him. He is amazing, and I have awesome parents too. So I learned so much from my mom. Well, first of all, when I was a little girl, I remember playing with my girlfriend in Silicaga. We played in the pine needles, and I would build a house.
Oh.
And I dreamt that I had a handsome husband and 3 or 4 children.
That's so cute.
And that was my dream, is to be married, have a Christian marriage,
Right,
Christian husband.
right.
And just serve the Lord and serve Him and serve the children. But I learned so much from my mom. She was amazing. They had 4 children, and she was a stay-at-home mom, and she just was always taking care of my dad. Just made
When you say taking care of your dad, what do you mean?
Well, she was there.
Things are a little different, but the principles are still the same. So go ahead.
Well, he worked a lot too, just like Roy, 80, 90 hours a week, and he wasn't home much. But when he was home, she made sure that I remember she would always put on her lipstick and powder and comb her hair before he came home.
That's amazing. Why?
She wanted to look pretty for him, and she had the house in order. She had meals prepared. She had us just in line, and she was always just taking care of us so he could do his job.
What about those women? And again, nothing is confrontational. And thank you, Daddy. Nothing's confrontational or pointing fingers. Nana Dunford even handled the house when Bumpa was in the war.
That's right. He was in World War II.
Yes, tell us
and
that.
Actually, my mom had my brother Mike when Dad was in World War II, and she had to take care of him, and she sent Dad pictures of him, and he knew that baby when he got home.
And our grandfather is one of the reasons why we have freedom, because he was a bomber pilot, and I just read his diary about a month ago with over 30 missions, and with a lot of, I learned about flak. Is that the word that was in there? He would write in the notes, a lot of flak or no flak. There was a lot of flak, which meant shrapnel, which meant bullets.
Every time
he went up, and he did that for the freedom of our country. So we want to say thank you. And this is Nana Dunford's sweater, but this is not about praising the Dunfords. This is really about what family is about and what people do. And rather than think of self, Nana could have thought of self. My husband's doing the war. I just can't handle this on my own. She didn't think of self. And just like my mom, when my dad, they started a business when, you remember your age. I remember.
think you were around 12 or 13, and that was really hard too, because Roy was working 80, 90 hours a week, and then he'd come home, and then we'd both go out at night, and it was really hard for me because I was so used to being home with the children, which I wanted to do.
And we kids kind of had so much fun, but at the time, my mom felt like you were being cut like a knife. Right?
Yeah, I felt
what
like
did you say? Show them. She used to do this all the time.
No, I
Show
just
it.
felt like I was being cut in half, because I knew I was going to serve my husband, and also I could think about crying right now because I wanted to be home with my children too.
Okay, so
but
how
I obeyed
did you
my
do
husband.
it?
Well, I just did what he needed me to do, because that's how marriage is supposed to be. The wife is supposed to support her husband.
I've never seen a wife in more obedience to God and her husband than my mom, and it's not because she's my mom. We kids had a blast. So So if you moms are going out and you're doing what you need to do and you think your kids are going to suffer, it's about how you talk and about what you think about and what the standards you set, because we're great. I had a little time that I was not so great, but her prayers and her obedience is what brought it back around. And now we're preaching the gospel and all the children are in God's will and doing what God needs us to do. Thank you, Dad. Did you ever communicate with Roy about what you didn't want to do, and how did you do that?
Yes, that is a good question. And for so long, I would just keep my mouth shut. I would just sew up my mouth. Sew it up
Zip it
and
up.
be quiet and just hold it in. And then after I had so much, and if I couldn't hold it in any longer, I remember saying this. I'll say, Roy.
Quietly amongst you two. No kids were
just
around
me.
ever.
We'd be alone, and I'd say, Roy, you're the head of this household, and whatever you say, we will do. But can I say something? And I know, please just listen to me. And if you don't agree with me, we'll do what you say, but please listen to me. And he usually did. Most of the time he did listen to me, and sometimes he would do what I suggested. Sometimes he did what he suggested, and sometimes if I didn't think it was right, I would just go along with it anyway. Because
why?
Because he is
the head.
He is the head of the household. When we got married, we said, there's no divorce in this family. I'm serving my God and my husband, and I'm going to do whatever he says. Because actually, he was a godly man, and right then, we weren't really into the Bible a lot, reading a lot, but we just knew that we had to let the man be the leader.
And let God deal with him.
That's
the thing about my parents.
Yes.
Maybe they weren't in the Word as much, but they were part of a generation which is very vital, that when they said their word, yes or no, that meant yes or no. They didn't go back and forth. They meant what they said, and that's what the Bible is. It's being good for your word. So, Mom, I know a lot of ladies today have seen a lot of, quote, liberated ladies. And, okay, keeping your mouth shut is hard sometimes. How did you turn that over to God? How did you? And also, people, sometimes when they hear my mom, they think, you were just a slave to your husband. And I'm going to correct you, because she was submissive to her husband, accordance with the Bible, not as a weaker person, but as a stronger person. When you're obedient to God, that is the stronger person. She knew my dad, it was not anything unethical or immoral, but you have to agape love is trusting and not having your own agenda. So I know it might be easier for me to say than if someone's married, but when things aren't good at home or they're stressful, what would Jesus say? Like, what did you do? Like, it wasn't easy. I remember you're already very thin, and you lost 20 pounds. That woman has always been skinny. Lovely for us. But you didn't eat because you used to say that I had hives on my neck. And what did you say?
Oh, I did. Oh, well, I was really nervous when we got in this one business, and I was so scared.
Because you were out of your comfort zone.
Right, and I was going to do what he asked me to do, so he asked me to call some people, and I was so scared I would have hives all over my neck and my arms, and I was too scared to even answer the phone. So I wouldn't answer the phone. But I just asked God to help me, and I had this little praying hands, and the card said, "I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me." And I said that probably 100 times a day. So the Lord helped me get through it.
And my dad is such a wise man that obviously he's not going to ask her to do a task that's going to put her in danger or make her not well. It's actually going to make her help her be a strong, pull out the good in her, make her be a stronger, more courageous woman. So aren't you glad that you now know how to meet people and communicate and make some phone calls?
Yes, I am now, but at the time it was really hard. But I was just going to obey my husband because I loved him, and I knew he was very smart. He's very handsome. He's so good with figures and money, and he's just good with everything. And I could trust him to take care of me and the children. So I just trusted him. I trusted the Lord, trusted him, and I'm thank God every day for him.
It's true childlike faith for sure. Let's switch over to children now. It's very different today. There's some stay-at-home moms. There are some that are working. It's no condemnation at all. My question to my mom is, how you said it was your gift to raise children, but you also said that sometimes we would get on your nerves and you just didn't listen to us, like in the grocery store, or you just said sometimes you couldn't you were tending the house. It's not your job to babysit us.
No, and I remember one time we were in a rental house in Lenore. We were building a house, and it was so hard because Roy was gone all the time. And I had curlers in my hair, and you and Tony locked me out of the house.
Locked out of the house. I thought that was when you pushed against.
Oh, yeah, that's another time. Oh, yeah, that time too. But they locked me out of the house. I was so mad.
We were very sassy.
I got a switch off of the shrubs in the yard and came in and beat him with a switch.
Yeah. Cindy's laughing. You were not born yet, I don't think, or just born.
She wasn't born.
We were so sassy because we just had a lot of energy. And the thing with that's good if kids have a lot of energy, but don't be deceived. You must discipline them, because if you don't, they're a wild stallion and they need to be trained. We needed to be trained.
So I did discipline. When I finally got back in, I whipped him with a switch. The switch was really skinny.
Yeah, but it hurt. But the point is, we were so like, if you could have done a different way of disciplining, like sit down, time out, whatever, but we were not obedient to that. So she did what she had to do, but you and Dad decided about the discipline. So what about when it gets tough about like making meals, or kids are crying or having little ailments? We have the blood of Jesus, but at the time you didn't know about prayer. So how did you handle situations that came up?
Well, I just handled them, and I know my parents were about 5 hours away, so I didn't want to call them and worry them.
Why?
I didn't want to worry them.
Good.
You never locked her out again.
No, never. We never locked her out again. Mm-mm.
But I didn't want my mom to be concerned or worried, and I didn't want to complain to her about Roy, because he's the best. And my mom loved Roy. My parents adored him.
See, a lot of people, when they want to vent, they don't realize that what the other person receiving, they're human also. And unless they've been walking in agape love, which not many have, they're going to judge. So when you're trying to vent to someone to get some help, it's probably going to be detrimental to your family and marriage unless someone's walking in agape love, because they want to protect you, which is out of fear, but it's also because of love. But you've got to do it God's way. So my mom, it's so wise that you did that. You were trying to be selfless and handle and not worry them. Because your mom didn't call on her mom.
No. So I didn't want to worry my parents. So and a lot of my neighbors worked. And so I just didn't want to talk to anybody, because
you didn't want to bring up the negative?
I didn't want to bring up negative. I didn't really feel like talking to anybody. I don't know why. I just didn't want to talk to anybody.
Well, it was a blessing, because then you don't have all the contamination that goes with it.
And I heard, like, they're not going to know how to help me. How is anyone else going to know? Only God knows. So I guess I just talked to him.
This is an example of perfect childlike faith. She's not perfect, but the childlike faith, you might have thought, I don't really have another option, but I'm going to have to trust God. Mom, what did you say about you didn't complain? You told me that you never complained.
I probably did complain, but I just remember when Roy was working with the phone company, and that time we didn't have enough money, so we only had one car, and Roy and he didn't call me a lot. We had phones, a house phone, but he didn't call me.
Because he's taking care of business.
I'd have dinner ready, and I'd be stirring the beans on the stove, and me and the kids would eat, and he wasn't home. But I just remember playing in the dirt with y'all and making mud pies.
Mud pies were my favorite. She made everything like so exciting, like we were at the Ritz-Carlton or something. We didn't even know about the Ritz, but she made every little thing exciting with salt, pepper shakers or with pencils. So you just be creative, but you don't think about self. I think that's what I'm learning from you. You don't.
So I was really lonesome. I didn't tell anyone, but I was missing my husband. My children probably really couldn't talk to me that much. So I was just there. I was just there taking care of everything, and
you were trusting God.
He always provided, so I don't have anything.
And you know that Dad was a godly man, and he wasn't like doing anything of those long hours. He was working,
right?
Because he grew up in close to poverty, and as a little boy, he said, "I'm never going to be this way. I'm going to have a life for my family." And until Monday's scope, where he realized you don't have to seek results. That was the only way he knew, which is, I'm thankful for that, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here today with this Periscope. Mom, anything else about, I just think that you were very good about keeping your husband and your children in the right perspective and assignment. Like some women today think they aren't praised enough for being good moms. Don't you believe that that's the number one assignment that God has, is to raise your children properly?
That was my assignment, I know, and so I didn't have really any desire. Like a lot of my friends would look at soap operas or junk on TV, which I never did. I didn't even like to watch the news. I don't watch the news. I don't watch TV really. Maybe sports a little.
So
bit.
what do you do if people make fun of you and say, "Why don't you do that? Why don't you do that?" Like they did that in college to you also.
Oh, well, I remember there was a smoking room, and I'd walk by. They said, "Come on in here and smoke." And I said, "No." And they were watching TV. I remember they were watching soap operas.
Of course.
I said, "No, thank you," and I just walked on by. I didn't care what they thought about me. I didn't want to go in there with all that smoke.
So I believe also you had a very strong self-esteem from a little girl. Like your mom
always praised me.
And what did she say? Like you knew that you were great.
She just said I was beautiful, had pretty hair, and then if she'd lose something, she said, "You can find it. You have beautiful eyes. You have good eyes. You can find it." I always would find things.
So what I'm trying to say with that is because her self-esteem was properly instilled as a little girl, she was able to bring that as she got older, that she wasn't insecure around everybody else and had to be like everybody else. How do you have keep a peaceful home with active children and a working husband?
I've worked really hard.
How did you do that specifically?
So, I would actually what helped me a lot. I would get up at like a half an hour earlier or an hour early before the kids got up, and I would just get up and pray, and I would have my devotional, and then I would start washing clothes, fixing breakfast. At one time, my children were at 3 different schools, so I was making 3 different lunches for them. I think I was driving them to 3 different schools. But I was doing everything that I could do to make it peaceful so Roy could get off to work. And when he came home from work, I tried to have the house picked up as much as I could, have the children in order. And I remember he'd come home and if they fell or if they were crying, I would take them outside or I'd say, "Just leave him alone. He's had a hard day. Just come to me. I'll handle it."
Right.
I handled everything. I remember one time I had the flu, which I'm never sick anymore, but I didn't.
Right.
I was sick in bed with the flu. Tony had to go to football practice, and Roy was watching. It was resting a little bit, watching golf or something. I got myself out of a sick bed, took Tony to practice, and came back home and went to bed. I didn't ask him because he was working 80 hours a week, and also during the night. I never asked him to get up and change diapers or
woman
feed,
of strength,
or
right.
when y'all were sick or anything.
Why not? He's equal.
Because
Did she ever stop? No, she doesn't stop because she's the most blessed woman in the world. And if you're not interested, you can just go ahead and get off, or I'll block you.
No, I think that was a nice compliment.
I don't know. Does she
It was
ever?
a nice compliment, I think.
That's why you're the best because you're always finding the good.
Yes, because I was just. My dad is awesome. My husband is awesome, and so is my dad. But he was just doing. He was doing everything, and I didn't want him to get overtired because he was working. So why don't
So why didn't you think? But you're working. You're a stay-at-home mom. It's just as equally a hard a job to be a stay-at-home mom. Why didn't you not expect Dad to be praising you when you got home?
Well, I don't know.
Because
he did praise. He did say I look pretty. He didn't really say a lot about my meals because my meals were not that good.
okay, so your meals, that's okay. But the thing is, but a lot of women want to be liberated until they want to feel that they need to have their voice. How did you know to keep your mouth quiet and just be respectful? And agape love says be selfless. Agape love is not thinking about self. And would you agree that you feel like you're the most blessed woman on earth? Like it was worth it?
It was worth it.
Because why? Why?
Because, well, I really never had to really work outside the home, which I never really wanted to.
Right.
And he takes me on trips. He gives me everything I want. He is so good to me.
You'll have so much fun playing cards.
Yeah,
and
we're so good.
Traveling with the family.
Yeah.
And so it's worth it.
It's so worth it.
And you didn't know, she didn't know that, y'all did say you wanted us to all be together as a family when we were little. And what other families are all living in the same place? What are some tips you did to keep yourself filled? At the time, Megs, how you doing? She wasn't as in the Word as much, but now she is. So what's there some example? You mean filled with the Word? I'm assuming
filled. I would read my Bible, and I'd have the Kenneth Copeland devotional.
And like, what if she has 4 kids? So what would you say to help her keep the Word going? Like keep the Word in the background while you're cleaning and kids are doing things?
Praying a lot. Because I remember I never did get my nails done or my hair done or massages or anything like that. So just a positive book. Joyce Meyer books.
Do you mean filled so you're not insecure, or filled Thank you. That's Myra saying godly woman. Like filled with, I just want to know what you mean by filled. Filled with the word or filled as a woman when no one else is basically joyful. How did you remain joyful through all
the joy of the Lord is my strength.
But Mommy, you know, how did you make you really made yourself happy? She was always this way. She was always positive. I never really saw her and my dad ever fight or be angry. So what did you do to keep that?
Oh, what did I do? Maybe I would sing or dance.
Mom, you danced for us, but you didn't
I danced. And I remember kicking Satan out. I daydreamed. That's right. Cindy, I did daydream.
She daydreamed all in school. We learned.
I did daydream.
So that means you're dreaming and visualizing what you wanted.
In school, I remember looking out the window and I would see dirt and grass, but I envisioned water and sailboats and me just on the lake riding in the boat.
And that's what they have. That's what they have. That's so great.
Yes.
But like she didn't put too much into it. You just kept going and trusting God and being obedient.
Yes.
Airplane in the sky going to Hawaii.
Yeah, Cindy said she remembers. I would say, oh, see that airplane? That's us going to Hawaii. Isn't this going to be fun? Look at the sky. It's so pretty.
And you're really good with the grandkids, just having so much fun. Okay, so what's one last thing that you can say now about wives and moms that's for them to be godly women for the Lord?
The one thing, just put the Lord first.
And how do you do that?
Well, get up, and what you've taught us in the morning.
You don't have to say that.
Get up, read a chapter in the Bible every day. Read your devotion, again, whatever devotional you're reading. Read it, study it. I have this blessing book. I have so many things written.
Yeah, say that. She has a book. It's like a notebook, and it's called the Blessing Book. And she writes in there what she's praying for, believing for our friends and family. Everything in that has come to pass. Every single thing. It might have taken some time, but how does that come to pass? How does it work? Because of what God says about.
But you envision it. You can draw a picture of what you want. In fact, I did, like Cindy said, I did have a picture of an airplane, and all of us, our whole family,
taking a trip. And then you don't tell anybody else. You just thank the Lord every morning.
Thank the Lord and look at it and thank the Lord, and everything I put in there comes to pass.
And so you don't watch TV. You don't speak negative. You watch your words. If you make a mistake, yes, we put it on the fridge. If you make a mistake, how do you get over it?
I repent.
One thing about my mom is that we are good partners because the vision boards she had, but that son is so awesome. Like if we catch each other, she's so quick to say, yes, you're right. I repent of that right now. Like we don't need to have any type of pride. That's not going to help us. So if we notice each other, we have a way to talk. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for being my mom and such a great example for all these ladies. We love you, and we'll see y'all on Friday. Have a great day.